I immediately knew it was true. And I immediately was elated because my mother and I, for years, having to live in a Republican supermajority state, both being progressive, both being non-religious, both seeing the hypocrisy of Republican Christians, we have both had a lot of camaraderie around celebrating the depravity being exposed of these hypocrites. And because you know it when you live around them, you're like, these people are so phony. They're such liars. They act so sanctimonious. And it started back. Do you remember Larry Craig, the senator that did the foot tapping?
Oh,
at
yeah.
Minneapolis airport. Yeah.
I think they called him Senator Wide Stance, if I remember.
Yeah.
correctly.
Senator Wide Stance. Yes. And he was very anti-gay marriage and all of these things. And then, you know, like a lot of these MAGA Christians, they are on their Bible and, you know, God, guns and family and all this stuff during the day. And then at night, they like to go out and do gay, kinky stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And here are the memes. Jen, I thought we'd go with some of the memes here. And there's one here that says he's probably thinking about other women. And then he says, I wish I had tits. That's one. I apologize to everybody. I'm already in Friday mode and it's Wednesday. Here's Marco Rubio finding out he has to be Kristi Noem's husband. There's that one. This is the Marco Rubio meme that pops up all the time, which I think is so funny.
I do too.
Then was there another one? There might have been one that was too R-rated for. Oh no, I love this one. Tell Kristi I want her to know it was me. I guess that's the little dog Cricket that she shot.
Oh yeah, Cricket. I saw a meme, Jim, that said maybe Cricket saw too much and shot herself.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Poor little Cricket.
Poor
I always
Cricket.
feel bad even mentioning Cricket. Maybe this is Cricket's revenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, you know, there's this argument like, okay, we can't kink shame Big Titty Brian.
I agree with this.
I push back against that a little bit
Okay.
because Big Titty Brian went to the congressional hearings with Kristi Noem after she led the organization that shot 2 peacefully protesting Americans. And he provided cover for her. I'm her husband. They're asking her about her affair with Corey Lewandowski. They're asking her about her character. And Big Titty Brian participated in this lie to the American public. And typically, I don't care if he puts on tits and does whatever. I'm not a prude. I'm not a Puritan. I don't care about that stuff. But I'm also not the Republican politician toting my Bible, telling people, you know, Trump is God's imperfect vessel and all this bullshit. And we all know it's bullshit. So that's why when this gets exposed, see, Big Titty Brian is there with her during this, and he's providing cover. And for the liars that lie to all of these MAGA voters, they lie in the most insidious way. They Christian signal. They accuse us of virtue signaling. I accuse them of Christian signaling. And that's what Kristi Noem has done. Oh, I have a godly marriage. And so then these voters go, oh, Kristi Noem's a good Christian. She wouldn't cheat on her husband. Well, as it turns out, he's got this side hustle where he's a closet drag queen, which I don't care. I like drag queens. And she's screwing Corey Lewandowski, which I don't care. At least somebody's doing it. Might as well be her. You know, I'm glad nobody
allegedly, as far as we know. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think Big Titty Brian confirmed in some of his chats that his wife was screwing Corey Lewandowski.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing he could do about it, is what he told somebody in this chat. And I think the larger question right now, Jim, is who leaked this?
Please remember to subscribe. It's so important to support independent journalism. It matters. It matters when you subscribe. It matters when you like. It matters when you share. It matters. And it matters when you watch. So thanks for tuning in. That's what I want to know.
Is it Trump?
Did they do it? Did she and Corey
did Kristi do it? Yeah.
I don't know.
Did Kristi do it?
Or was it Cricket?
Sam Cedar on the majority report said maybe it was Kristi leaked it so that she and Corey Lewandowski wouldn't have to testify against each other so that they could get married. Because, you know, they did a lot of double dealings with the DHS. Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem robbed that place blind.
There are all these reports that, you know, Corey Lewandowski said, well, if you want this contract, you got to go through me. All of this stuff is being investigated now. And I think you're right on the target here, Jen. I think that there's a possibility that they leaked this to sort of get the heat off of them. They thought that this would just sort of change the narrative, change the subject matter.
Or, Jim, did Trump leak it because he wanted to completely fire her and completely besmirch her credibility, so that if she comes out now and says, well, Trump did this and Stephen Miller did that, he's going to go, you can't believe her. She didn't even know her husband was parading around with big titties. And so I don't know. I mean, they're
all a bunch of boobs to me. I mean, I just have to,
I have this feeling that, they act like it's all Team Trump and they're like so united. You've worked in the White House. That's the most toxic work environment.
For sure.
Not just in the United States. That there's so much double dealing, backstabbing. Was it Susie Wiles? Was it Stephen Miller? So I think Laura Loomer came out and tweeted yesterday, everybody's known about this information forever. Yeah. And so if that's true, that all of these Republicans knew that Kristi Noem's husband liked to put on boobs and take pictures with a duck face and all of this, then why is it out now? Why is it leaked right now?
I mean, to me, this is the least morally bankrupt thing that we could talk about when it comes to the Trump administration. I mean, the president himself is a scumbag. I mean, just objectively speaking, he's a scummy, sleazy person. And I mean, just today, I guess JD Vance announced that he's got this new book coming out. Did you see this? Talk about Christian signaling. Here it is right here. He's got a book coming out called Communion. As if his last book wasn't a fraud. Here comes a new one. He works for Donald Trump. Enough with this.
Here's the thing about JD Vance. And I want to put this memo out. We have a job in this left-wing media ecosystem. We need to muddy up his reputation as best we can. Everybody did a great job with the couch fucking stuff. A+, no notes. This guy wants to be the heir apparent of MAGA. He's younger. He's darker. He's a lot more evil. He's a lot smarter than Trump. And he's a lot easier to corrupt, just as
a lot more connected to, and connected to the Peter Thiel people. I'm sorry.
And he's changed his name 3 times. He's changed his religion 3 times. A grown adult has changed his name 3 times and changed his religion 3 times. He is a shape-shifting chameleon. I think it is neck to neck. Who is this country's biggest prostitute? JD Vance or the First Lady? And I can kind of go back and forth, but JD Vance is bought and paid for by these. There he is. There he is with his eyeliner at Turning Point.
He loves that eyeliner.
Oh, he loves it. And so we really need to do a great job, because have you noticed how he is not really jumping in on this Iran stuff? He's really trying to distance himself from the Iran war so that he can run. And so our job is to make sure that we call out him for the hypocrite that he is, much like we just did the Noems, which her political career is completely over, but it still doesn't make it any less delicious, nor confirming that we knew these people were all full of shit. And so we have a lot of work to do on any heir apparent of the MAGA movement.
Well, I mean, yes, many of them have been hoisted on their own brassiere, I guess you could say, in this instance. But there's one other cheeseball we left out, and I think he's running, and that's Pete Hegseth, America's Secretary of War, America's Secretary of Axe Body Spray. And look what happened with, just the other day, I guess Kid Rock had this Apache helicopter flying over his house, and the Army ordered this investigation. And now Pete Hegseth says, investigation suspended, investigation lifted. The crew is just fine. We're not going to investigate this anymore. Carry on. And to me, Pete Hegseth, I think he wants it too.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth is really weird. I mean, that guy, like, he made this statement yesterday at the Pentagon, and he's like quoting scripture, like Old Testament. And he's literally trying to link, like, God, please help us be more violent in this war. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he used the word violence and killing, making sure every bullet finds its mark and all this crazy shit.
Yes, and he told the story about this lady pilot who said, "Please give us more bombs," and all this. I mean, you were absolutely right. I mean, here he is right here showing off.
He's such a narcissist. I mean, this guy is in the stage religious psychosis. So I think that he has nothing to do with this war. We all know Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and Benjamin Netanyahu are the driving people behind this war, and he wants to be in charge. So I think Stephen Miller and Trump have said, okay, you start the holy war aspect of it. And because that's all he's talking about is this deranged, apocalyptic, holy war situation, and he's having a lot of problem with troops because they're basically telling the troops, you need to get saved. They're like spiritually blackmailing the troops right now and telling them this is a holy war. I mean, just some really weird fanatical shit. But this doesn't surprise me because the Speaker of the House, Moses Mike Johnson, is every bit as fanatical as this guy. And these religious fanatics have the audacity to tell the world, oh, we're going to invade Iran because they're religious fanatics. And I'm like, hello, the call's coming from inside the house. I'm not saying that there isn't religious fanaticism in Iran. Of course there is. No, but we have our own unique breed of it here.
I know. And I mean, you know, the other person who is competing to be America's biggest Christian is the Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. I mean, she does this every day in the White House briefing. And get this, just the other day, I mean, our friend Oliver Darcy over at the Status Media newsletter, they reported that Caroline Leavitt, her press office, pressured a couple of news outlets and Getty Images to remove a picture of her. This is it right here. Yeah. I guess last Thanksgiving, they took this picture of her with the turkey in the briefing room, and there's the turkey with the double chin or triple chin. And then she doesn't look so hot there, I guess she thought. And they got so pissed about this photo that they yelled at the photographer who took it and the outlet and said, you must take this down. You must remove it. Now, of course, everybody, it's like internet, do your
makes
thing.
It worse.
It makes it worse. But I mean, I'm sorry, like, give me a break. She always comes out there and tries to pretend that she's this pious, you know, high and mighty person. And all she does is she gives a shit about how she looks in the picture. Just like Pete Hegseth. They were trying to ban the photographers out of the briefing room at the Pentagon.
Well, and a couple of points on this. Number one, on Caroline Leavitt, Donald Trump. If you're going to be in public office, or like what we do as podcasters, you have to have super thick skin. Like, on any given night, Fox News, The Five, is going to do some hit piece on me. And I just don't care, Jim. I just really don't give a shit. I do not care what Karen in Toledo, Ohio tweets about me. It just makes zero difference in my life. But these people are so thin-skinned. And back to Pete Hegseth and the drive-by Kid Rock. A detail of that I found pretty fascinating is those pilots, you know, they were showboating and hot rodding and trying to be big dicks. They were suspended. And then Hegseth does this very crazy tweet where he's like,
I think we have
over. Yes. And so now it's like we're seeing the military be completely politicized for the egos of Pete Hegseth and the brosphere Kid Rock fans. It's just
Kid Rock. Who gives a shit about Kid Rock anymore? Also, I mean, like.
Okay, Jim, did you see at the Republican National Convention or something? I think it was the RNC, some Republican thing, or I'm sure Grindr crashed, but that's neither here nor there. And Kid Rock is on the stage, and his music is objectively awful. All right. I'm sorry if any of your listeners like Kid Rock. I just think it's horrific. And it shows like Usha Vance and JD, and then like these crusty old white people, and they're like trying so hard to find the beat, and they're like,
I know they just can't get there. It's not happening. But what's sad about that is that the DNC, I was at the DNC and the music was amazing. And
incredible. Then they lost. It was so sad. Oh my gosh. It was so sad. The DNC was so much fun. I went, and it was joyous, and it was so fun, and all the cool musicians are there. And then we lost these freaking narcissists, thin-skinned. I mean, having her photograph, Caroline Leavitt, removed, it's just like, you're just in the wrong profession. Like, you need to do something to protect yourself if that is going to upset you.
And also, we live in the age of BTB. I mean, you know, the internet lives on forever. I mean, can we show that one last time? Can we show Big Titty Brian one more time? Is it Brian or Byron? It's Brian.
Okay, so I just want to point this out. So I kept thinking, is it Byron or Brian? And so I just noted on my podcast that parents that try to spell their kids' names something cute,
they got to stop doing
it's going to be downhill from there. So I think it's Brian, Big Titty Brian there. And you know what?
It's like, don't give your daughter stripper names. Don't do that either.
I hate to say this, but I really like it when bad things happen to bad people.
I do too. And I mean, I also have to say to the Daily Mail, the way they write these headlines is so good. I mean, it says something about he's pouty or something. I didn't get that out of it. The pouting busty bimbo photos.
Yeah. And this is just so classic of these. If you watch Fox News right now, they made an intentional slant to be more Christian in their covering. They said they were going to put more faith into their reporting. The Trump administration knows that they have to Christian signal. And then this is just one chip to fall. I promise you, there is similar Google search history and compromising information on, I would say, Lindsey Graham, Moses Mike Grinder Johnson. I would go Josh Hawley. I think you can go down the list, because I have always found this to be true. The louder the Christian, the bigger the freak.
Yes. And they like to go after the LGBTQ community all the time. I mean, Donald Trump, it's in every one of his speeches now. And I mean, they're just, giant hypocrites. And it's shameful.
Hypocrites, because they fetishize the movement that they ostracize during the day. They fetishize at night.
That's it.
So it's just like, if you want to queen out Big Titty Brian, I don't care. If you want to do gay stuff at night, I really don't give a shit. If you and Kristi have an agreement, you screw Corey Lewandowski, I don't want to screw you anymore. And she's like, that's great. You can go put on your tits. I don't give a shit. But do not lecture the United States electorate about their love lives and who they can love, and try to create laws that favor heteronormative people and bully, institutionalized legal bullying to trans kids and drag queens. These are the people that lost their shit. They lost their shit about drag brunches.
That's right.
These are the people. How many stories did Fox News do about drag queens?
Exactly.
And it turns out Kristi Noem's husband, Big Titty Brian, is the world's worst drag queen. I've seen drag. I love drag. I love drag shows. That is not good drag.
It's not good drag. That drag is a drag, I will say. and those I saw somebody mention on the internet that those puppies were so big that Kristi Noem wanted to kill them. But anyway, that was another bad joke. I didn't show you all the memes. There was another meme. There was a Mary fuck kill meme in there too.
Yeah,
we did not show that one because we have standards on this program. But
that's good. Jim has standards, but I don't. I'll go ahead and tell you, listener. She fucks Big Titty. She marries Big Titty Brian. She fucks Corey Lewandowski, and she kills the dog.
I think that's the way it went.
I'm sorry, Jim, but we're already we're not in the gutter. We're just reporting on the news of President Trump, the conservative Christians, imperfect vessel. He was surrounded by the best people, but then also recently he said he likes to hang out with losers. So I don't know what it is.
That's right.
He loves losers.
He loves the losers like JD Vance and Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth. There's the secretary of losing right there.
I love this. Is your producer, Sam. Sam, that's so diabolical to keep putting this stuff up. I love it.
Sam loves that picture. He's told us many times after the show is over that this is his favorite picture that we use on the
That's excellent. Sam, I need you to text that to me for one of my episodes. That's excellent. When you think about he's in charge of the Department of Defense, how insane that is.
It's insane. It's really insane. But we're not in the gutter. We are only reporting on the gutter, Jennifer Welch.
That's right.
But, thank you so much for coming on. As always, when I saw you talk about BTB, I was like, we got to get her on. This is the best.
Yeah, of course. I shine when talking about Republican hypocrisy. It's one of my favorite subjects.
You are our Republican hypocrisy correspondent from
expert. Yeah. Anytime you need me, the next sex scandal that breaks out, just know I'm your gal.
All right. You got it. Okay. We can workshop who that will be next, but good to see you, Jen. Thanks.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye.
But all I could imagine when I saw that was the vision of the future, and it will happen one day. I probably will be dead, but I'd love to be alive when that statue is going to be torn down, just as it was for Saddam and so many others in the Middle East. So that's kind of a fun thought if you get upset in looking at the golden statue.
Well, and getting back to the ballroom, the thing that just drives everybody nuts is that he thinks he can just go and do this. And for once, we have a federal judge, we have checks and balances sort of making a comeback. There, you can go to a judge and say, hey, wait a minute. Yeah.
It'll be appealed. You know that.
Right. I know.
The judge, I was delighted to say, you live there. You don't own it. You are not allowed to do anything you want to it. You are supposed to be preserving it. And that will come as a great shock to Trump.
And what is, I mean, what's your sense of where things stand for him right now? Because I mean, I'm looking at the poll numbers. I know I saw your Sabato crystal ball last week on where things stand in terms of the balance of power in the Congress and the prospects of the midterms. You guys wrote that you're moving 11 ratings in the House from current Democratic held districts, all in the favor of Democrats. I guess there were some that might have been up for grabs and you've moved them all over. But his own presidential poll numbers are seemingly all below 40% right now. Just about any poll you look at these days, he's under 40%. It seems like gas prices are weighing him down. And even Republicans don't want this war in the Middle East.
Yeah, I don't want to pick out just one poll, but let me pick out just one poll.
Sure.
The Ipsos YouGov poll, they poll regularly and have for many, many years. They do the Economist polls. I think they still do the Economist. Yep. And they were out today with a 35% approval rating for Donald Trump. It is his lowest percentage in either term. And the other polls have been falling too. He's now in the 30s in several of the good ones, the gold standard ones. So, you know, when you fall, I've said all along, it's basically 60-40. You know, his base is very supportive of him, still is for the most part, but the opposition has become firmer and firmer. So the best estimate is 60% disapprove, 40% approve. But now I'm wondering if it's going to be more like, you know, 60-35. Once some of the undecideds are moved to disapprove. How can you be happy with what is going on, not just in Iran, although I think that has upset just about everybody, and the gas prices, of course. But if you pay attention to the news, even a little bit, almost by the hour, you hear outrageous things coming from Trump or his appointees. And gradually that has an effect. You know, it chips away and chips away.
And I guess, is there one thing that you would point to right now as to why he has bottomed out? I mean, I suppose he may not have totally bottomed out. As you said, it could go even further. But, you know, I saw Fox came out with a poll, I believe it was last week, that said this is the lowest he's been in either term. And I suppose that includes the aftermath of January 6th with, I mean, if he's that low, that's pretty bad. And I have to think that Republicans up on Capitol Hill are screaming into their pillows at night with these numbers.
Well, they can talk to themselves because that's mainly what they do. They're responsible for the fact that they're in such trouble, and they will go out with their heads low after they're defeated, many of them in November, and they will owe it to Trump, but also themselves. They could have stood up. They could have stood up. And those who plan to retire after whatever term they're being elected to, after the primary, they could speak out against Trump without any real risk to themselves and possibly help themselves in the general election. But that would take at least a modicum of courage, so you won't see it.
Yeah, no. And I mean, we've seen this during the whole process over the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Republicans are not really willing to buck him, I suppose, to some extent. John Thune, the majority leader, said, well, we're not going to kill the filibuster to ram through the SAVE Act because Trump wants to ram through this. Basically, it's a voter suppression bill dressed up as a voter ID bill. I suppose they did sort of buck him there, but not really anywhere else. And so they do have, it's sort of like my mother used to say, you make your bed, you lie in it. And that's what's happening.
Yes. And on the SAVE Act, DHS and so on, essentially, I don't know that every member of the Republican caucus in the Senate really knew what was in the agreement that they were reaching at 3 a.m. But enough of them did so that it's impossible not to call this bipartisan out of the Senate. And the fact that the right-wing Freedom Caucus immediately rose up and threatened the speaker and threatened everybody else and managed to get it killed. Now, this is solely, in my view, solely a Republican problem. The Democrats are out of it completely because of what the Senate did. That was a bipartisan solution, but it was too liberal for the House Republicans.
Right. That's absolutely right. And I wonder what the impact of all of this is going to be on the upcoming midterm races. I know that your crystal ball team has moved some House races over to the Democratic side, much more so than we've seen in recent weeks. You know, the thing that, you know, I think most people are curious about these days, they assume that the House is going to fall to the Democrats, but that the Senate, is it truly up for grabs? Larry, this is what I've been wanting to get you on to talk about this. What do you think? Do you think, I mean, Mary Peltola, could she pull off an upset in Alaska? Could Dr. Andrews, I think it's Annie Andrews in South Carolina, could she pull off that upset against Lindsey Graham? I mean, Susan Collins, this seems like every 6 years we talk about Susan Collins. What do you think of all this?
Well, first on the House, if the House doesn't go Democratic, I'm going to go ahead and finally retire. And a lot of people will applaud. I mean, because look at the conditions in the country.
Yeah.
Look at the disapproval rate for Trump. It would violate all the rules we've come to believe in politics, even more so than Trump violated in 2016 and 2020 and 2024, if the House doesn't go Democratic. I think it will. The margin, if you ask me today, I'd say 230s. But could shrink, it could expand. Let's just see what happens. The Senate, and I think it's important to bring people down to earth a little bit. I'm not trying to cap anyone's enthusiasm. They should go out there and work as hard as they can. But it is a tough nut to crack. You look at the seats that are up, and really it would be at a minimum a small miracle and probably a big miracle if the Democrats did take over. It is possible. It's theoretically possible, and it's practically possible when you look at North Carolina, which I think is very clearly moved in the Democratic direction. Georgia, which is now, I think, pretty solid for the Democrats. Michigan, we still have a question mark because we don't know who the nominee is and whether the Democrats will get back together, but they ought to be able to put it together and hold that seat in Michigan. Maine, if Susan Collins is ever going to be defeated, it's going to be this year.
Yeah.
And Plattner will be the nominee. I think Mills, it's really age with Mills and the fact that she's an establishment choice. If anybody killed her, it was probably Chuck Schumer in picking her and endorsing her.
Right.
But there are others that are on the board that could be on the board. I'm not a believer in Nebraska going independent/Democratic, but it's possible. It is possible that Iowa could do so. Ohio is definitely possible. Alaska is definitely possible. No one believes that. No one believes it. They're not going to believe it until it happens, if it happens.
Right.
But these are going to be at least competitive races, and Democrats haven't been competitive in many of these states for years. And really, that's the key for Democrats. Keep working on becoming competitive in states you once won or frequently for the Senate and even for president, but particularly the Senate and the House and governor. Get competitive again. Do what you have to do. And that includes maybe trimming some of the less popular parts of your platform. We all have to make compromises in life.
Yeah.
But it can work if Democrats are determined to do it and see what the threat is. If they don't.
Right. Well, and the other one that I think, the other Senate race that I'm intrigued by is Texas. If James Tallarico, I mean, one would think on paper, he looks like somebody who could defeat Ken Paxton if it ends up being Ken Paxton. John Cornyn, I think that's harder. That's going to be tougher to pull off. But if it's Ken Paxton, and I noticed the other day, Trump was threatening to endorse somebody in that primary, and then he didn't. So I don't know if that's happening or not. He sort of pulled back. He's sort of become afraid. He's become a little gun shy about the fact that he's not so much of a kingmaker anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be blamed if something goes awry in Texas.
Right.
I apologize for not mentioning Texas. I certainly should have. It's on the board, more than on the board. I think we're all a little gun shy about Texas because how many times have political experts of all stripes said, Texas could go blue this year. I see a blue wave coming, and then it never happens. It hasn't happened since before 1994. Really, 1990 was the last true Democratic year in Texas. But that doesn't mean there can't be another one. And Tallarico is a generational talent. The more I've watched him, the more impressed I've become. In the beginning, I kind of wondered. I've told people, he has such a baby face, and partly that's jealousy, being in my 70s.
I know what you mean. I feel this.
Oh, you're nowhere near there, Jim. You're nowhere near there. But
good lighting here.
That's good lighting. That's right. Look, it's possible, and you never know when a race is coming out of the blue, and it would be the blue in this case, one you didn't even have on the map. And we used to have those regularly when American politics had more fluidity to it. And
True.
people would vote for the other party. They would switch for one reason or another. They'd get mad at the incumbent. We've lost that, and we've got to get that back.
Yeah. And I guess there was a subscriber who was just asking the question, does Trump's unpopularity necessarily translate to Democratic votes? And I guess, Larry, I mean, one of the phenomenons that I suppose we could talk about is, do just Republicans stay home? And I read some reports that CPAC in Texas was lightly attended. You're seeing some splintering in MAGA. You know, folks will say, oh, MAGA is fine. We don't have anything to worry about. When Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly and some of these types start to speak out against Trump, to me, it says some of these podcast bro type voters may just stay home. They may go out in a presidential, but not in a midterm.
Yes, but there's another option. The other option is to go and vote, but skip a race or two that you're conflicted about. You know, when you vote, you don't have to vote for every race on the ballot or every item, every referendum on the ballot. Some people will pick and choose, and more will pick and choose if they are conflicted. And so that's why it's useful for the opposition party to give good arguments that appeal to the other side that can cause voters to become conflicted.
Well, let's bring in Ty Cobb, because Ty is waiting in the wings. And Ty, of course, worked in the Trump administration. I'm just kind of curious what Ty thinks, and while we have Larry for a few more minutes, on what the midterms are looking like. Ty, I mean, I've not seen Trump wounded like this, politically speaking, in some time. Like, he is damaged goods right now, and it's hurting the Republican brand. If there are some folks out there who still think that it has a good brand, it's been damaged. It's been tarnished.
So I've enjoyed this conversation. Larry's one of my heroes in this field. I review his stuff regularly, and I'm a subscriber. And Jim, of course, you have too much damaging film on me for me to disagree with you. But
it's true.
But I have to throw a little cold water on this for three reasons. One, Larry's colleague Charlie Cook had a piece this week about how the data doesn't yet show a wave, and for reasons that are somewhat puzzling, but also somewhat structural in terms of gerrymandering and years of gerrymandering. The tightness of the race is the number of retirements, which actually does marginally help the Dems, I think, as Larry would agree. But it's the country is so divided, and the media control that Republicans have gotten that has turned many of the outlets into more Pravda than independent journalism is problematic. And then finally, I think when we talk about the elections, we can't talk about them in the narrow vacuum that has intellectually framed this historically, because Trump intends to send ICE into polling places 48 hours to 24 hours before the elections, disrupt them and hijack them if necessary. ICE, of course, has no business at the airports. ICE has no business at the polls. They don't have any jurisdiction to be at the polls. They're legally prohibited from being at the polls. But Trump has said they will be in 15 jurisdictions. Bannon has said they will be everywhere. Tom Homan last week said, people have nothing to fear with ICE at the polls. What are people afraid of? Well, what they're afraid of is it's against the law. It's illegal, and it's purely for intimidation. But it's all to sensitize Americans to the fact they will be there. And it is difficult. I'm sure Larry would agree. It's difficult to poll the consequences of that. So I think we should be optimistic about the fact that people do seem to be waking up. We should be optimistic about the fact, as Larry says, that Tallarico is a generational candidate, that we have some people like that. Sadly, though, I would counter the enthusiasm there by pointing out that Jeffries and Schumer have just been inept and feckless when it comes to assisting in the selection of candidates. They haven't been strong enough to try to point out to people that the reason the Democrats won in New Jersey and Virginia is because they ran center left intelligent women with real achievements, not progressives. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm far from confident.
Larry, what do you think about the prospect of ICE being at the polls and Trump dirty tricks, MAGA dirty tricks? I guess that's something that, and you were cautioning us earlier, these are things that we can't account for.
Sure. And first, let me say, Ty, you're a real Debbie Downer. That's all I had people pumped up and excited.
You did.
Enthusiastic but I'll give you some of the pills they assign to old people. You're not there yet, but I get them. That's why I'm as up as I am. But look, what you said is absolutely true. And of course, I imagine these nightmare scenarios as well. I try not to share them widely simply because I worry about people getting desensitized to the awful idea that troops of any sort, law enforcement of any sort, at least in the ICE category, could make their way into polling places. I've been told, and you're the lawyer, but I've been told it's illegal. It clearly violates the statutes. And I would hope that we would have the ability to act quickly and get those people out of the polling places. I realize that people would be intimidated just hearing that they might be in the polling places. But we don't want to prepare people for something that is illegal and terrible and must be fought at every turn. So that I salute you for bringing it up. I condemn you for being Debbie Downer.
Well, I think that's fair. And I was there a month ago. I was where you are a month ago, but I've sort of concluded that it is such a reality that I think people might need to factor it in and start to develop the courage that it's going to take to go to the polls in those circumstances.
Make it too big to rig, as they say. Yeah.
Hey, this is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, written by the man who built the pavilion that I'm right here in on UVA's lawn. And he had courage. The British would have hung him if they found him. All the other founders had great courage. Can't we show just a little bit?
I hope so. And that's why I raised it, which is basically steel yourself for this, go anyway and be an American.
Absolutely. Well, then we're in concert. I don't have the problem with you that I did a few minutes ago.
In all seriousness, it does make a huge difference when you can help support this program. And for those of you out there who do it on a regular basis, our thanks to you. You make all of this happen. We're able to put these kinds of programs together for you. We're able to go down to the National Mall and talk to people and talk about Donald Trump's golden toilet. What he should get instead of a presidential library. That's all he should get is a golden toilet. Still reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta. I'll see you next time. We're already seeing the protesters start to line up over here and get ready for this big march across the bridge. Ray, you got a sign there. It says, what does that say, 89 veteran?
Well, I'm 89 years old. I remember the Second World War, activities surrounding the Vietnam War, but we amassed our troops and we marched on Washington and we stopped the Vietnam War, and we'll stop this nonsense too.
He doesn't want to be around successful people because he doesn't want to hear those success stories. He wants to be around losers. And so the question is for JD Vance, for Marco Rubio, for Lindsey Graham, are you the losers? Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like Stormy Daniels. If Trump pulls out, the Iranians are going to say, that's it? That's it? That's all you got?
Well, look, it's actually a mushroom effect. It's a mushroom effect.
Now, look, I always said Don was the bad kid in the class, and now I have to change my whole frame. It's Jim. I thought Don was, it's Jim.